I am. This whole videotape thing is extremely messy. Right now, because of where we are, people are constructing next door. Unpredictable, completely within the realm of what happens. But it does bring up the issue that I have with people who tell me that I can't play, that I'm disturbing the quiet. Because although I don't know that what I do is beautiful, I don't do it because I know it's beautiful. I do know that I do it with a pure heart and a pure intent. And when I am shut down by somebody, while noises such as hammering and drilling are tolerated, and their sounds are definitely not beautiful. I have no doubt about that at all. The sound is painful, and it will be painful to you to hear it in the background while you listen to me. Yet they're rarely stopped because of material needs, the desire for material goods. In addition, I always feel like I should be able to sing with the birds. I am inspired to hear birds singing. At the present time in the morning, the roosters are going, various morning birds are singing. I want to stand on the stoop where I dance and sing with them. And for sure, the woman next door will come out and start screaming at the top of her lungs about me singing there. I think that her screaming is ugly. I think that her intent is ugly. I think that she is a European woman who is trying to control the environment because as a European, she thinks she has control of the world. This is a usual thing. One thing I've noticed in my time in Bali, and I do feel like the Balinese are brothers and sisters of mine. There's our coloring, our happiness, our smiling, our joy with each other is so connected. They know I'm not Balinese, but they don't understand why we have such a connection. It's the Europeans that have trouble with me, not the Balinese. So of course I've forgotten where I was going with that. That's the usual thing with me. I really am. The trouble that I have with the European sensibility is their treatment of the Balinese like servants or slaves. Some of the Europeans adopt an attitude towards the Balinese as slaves, some servants, and rarely do I see them look in the Balinese eyes and say thank you for something. And the Balinese are all into service as a way of being. When I understood that in my own life, to be of service as a being duty, I didn't recognize it in a religion. I just understood that that is the way to live beautifully, kindly, with joy, humility, and devotion to others, compassion. So I observe the Europeans when they are being served by a Balinese waiter, and how they dismiss the Balinese waiter, ignoring them. And as I said, it's rare to see a European look into the Balinese eyes who has delivered a piece of food to the table or whatever and say thank you. They don't do that at all. And again, at all is a little bit too big, because there are every once in a while a European who will do that. This includes all those brilliant materialistic spiritualists that hang around here, those who have classes and charge much money to study with them and to learn what they act like they're teaching. I've seen them also be dismissive of the Balinese when they deliver food to them, or something, anything. This is something that I'm extremely sensitive about. I do not dismiss anybody who has done a service to me without thanking them eye to eye. This is the most important thing to me, because I am of service, and I have experienced how people dismiss me, and I have experienced how people denigrate me for being of service. Being of service is the highest duty that one can aspire to in this world, in this universe. Not get a presidency, not own a bunch of cars, not own a mansion, not walk down in a big gown and act like one is full of hubris, nose in the air, not walking down a red carpet. Which again brings me to the Academy Awards, when I danced on the red carpet and was running around and singing to all the celebrities, doing service again. The police didn't like that. They tried to throw me out. Modeling doing service is not something the police like very much. They want to make everybody aspire to material yearning and desire. Because if you can, and as a society, make people yearn for material wealth, then they are controllable. They then want a car. They then want a house. They then want a fancy gown. They then want a award. They want to be famous. Because if they want that, then advertising and companies who are selling it can sell it to them for a high price. I didn't think I was going to talk about that. It's funny how this gets going. I actually didn't know that I would talk about anything at all. I was so distressed by all the mistakes made in these videos in the last few days. Mistake after mistake after mistake. And thus I think of mistakes and wonder about mistakes. As hurtful as it is to make mistakes, to experience mistakes and the loss of whatever the mistake caused, mistakes are extremely important. I didn't know that when I was a child. I was, as I've said before, I was a very self-hating being as a child, and a mistake just proved why I should hate myself. So I didn't want to make mistakes. I didn't want to prove that I was a monster that I thought everybody thought I was. So mistakes were not acceptable. The problem with not making mistakes is that you only can learn by making mistakes. Mistakes are immensely important for learning. A person who does not make a mistake and learn something is thus unable to do it. The mistake teaches us how to do everything. So when one is doing math and one adds or multiplies or subtracts and makes a mistake, one learns how then to do it correctly. And that mistake reminds one how to do it correctly. I wish I knew that when I was a child, because that is one of the reasons I didn't do well in school. I need to amend that. It's not that I didn't do well in school. It's that I was always teetering on the edge of, am I doing well or not? I made a mistake in that. Am I doing well or not? I made a mistake in that exam. Am I doing well or not? There has to be a better way of teaching than focusing on mistakes as the enemy. Mistakes have to be embraced as the way to learn well. To make the child embarrassed and ashamed of mistakes is the way for the child not to learn well. I know, because that's how I felt when I was at school. It's the same with the violin. In order to learn how to play the violin, one has to make tons of mistakes. I still make mistakes playing the violin. That is what makes it the hardest of instruments. A guitar is, because of frets, a guitar is not nearly as mistake-prone as a violin. In a sense, the frets were placed on a guitar so that people would make less mistakes with note intonation. So, of course, the violin and all the string instruments in the violin family, violin, viola, cello, bass, without frets, are considered the most difficult instruments because of that, because mistakes are so easy. without frets, without some guide as to where the note is. So what about me? What about me that I play and dance? What about me that I play and sing? Singing and dancing are very distracting while one is playing the violin or any string instrument, because dancing, your body's in motion. How do you place your fingers down on a string while your body is in motion? The instrument itself, the violin, it becomes a snake in your hands. It moves to and fro while you dance. It is not easy to then place a finger down on the fingerboard and know where it's going to land, because you're moving. Same with singing. Singing is a intonation-based talent. A good singer has good intonation. Bad singers do not. So therefore, you have a violin and you have your vocal. And if you are a violin, if your fingers are not landing correctly, and then you are singing, you have an interesting difficulty of placing those two in alignment. And then dancing at the same time. So you have dancing, singing, and playing the violin. So I can't say that I am beautiful when I do it. You may, but I don't believe you. I listen to you, and I listen to you with a very neutral feeling. Because at times people say things to me because they want something. They don't necessarily want to give me praise. So I listen to you, and I don't really take in what you say. That still doesn't take away the fact that I am doing something that is very difficult. I have to say that because of the hammering and the drilling and the noise that is happening nearby, it's very difficult to maintain focus. So I'm going to end my talk here.